My daughter abandoned me for fame. Now, she's asking me for help. The phone rang at 3:47 a.m., its shrill cry cutting through the silence like a blade through silk. I knew before I even looked at the screen who it would be. After 15 years of silence, only one person would dare call me at this ungodly hour, assuming I'd still answer. Sophia. My daughter's name glowed on the screen, accompanied by a photo I'd never had the heart to delete her at 17 radiant, and laughing her arms slung around my shoulders at her high school graduation. Back when she still called me Dad, instead of treating me like a stranger who happened to share her DNA. I stared at the phone, my finger hovering over the green button. Part of me wanted to let it go to voicemail, to preserve the fragile peace I'd built and the ruins she'd left behind. But the other part, the part that had never stopped being her father, couldn't ignore the possibility that she might actually need me. Hello. My voice came out rougher than I'd intended, thick with sleep and 15 years of suppressed emotion. Dad. The word was barely a whisper, so different from the confident, commanding voice I'd heard in the interviews and award speeches over the years. Dad, I need help. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sophia Martinez, Grammy winner, chart topper, the girl who'd conquered the world with her voice, was asking for help from the man she'd discarded, like yesterday's newspaper when fame came knocking. What kind of help? I asked, sitting up in bed, my heart hammering against my ribs, despite my attempt to sound casual. A sob broke through the phone, raw and desperate. I don't know where else to turn. Everything's falling apart, and I made such terrible mistakes, Dad. I hurt so many people. I hurt you. The words hit me like a physical blow. For 15 years, I'd waited for some acknowledgement of what she'd done, some recognition of the collateral damage she'd left in her wake. But now that it was here, it felt hollow, almost too late. Where are you? I found myself asking, already knowing I'd regret getting involved. Los Angeles, but I can come to you. Can I come home? Home. The word hung between us like a bridge neither of us was sure could bear the weight of everything that had happened. I'll think about it, I said and hung up. But even as I tried to go back to sleep, memories flooded back as vivid and painful as the day they were made. Sophia had always been special. Even as a toddler, she could carry a tune better than most adults. By the time she was 12, she was winning every talent competition within driving distance of our small Ohio town. Her mother, Elena, and I would pack into our beat-up Honda and drive hours to these events, watching our daughter light up stages with a presence that seemed too big for her small frame. She's going to be famous someday, Elena would whisper to me in the audience, her eyes shining with pride and something that might have been prophecy. Mark my words, Michael. Our little girl is going to change the world. Elena died when Sophia was 15, a sudden heart attack that left us both reeling. In the months that followed, music became Sophia's lifeline. She'd lock herself in her room for hours, writing songs that made me weep when I heard her practicing them through the thin walls of our modest home. When the talent scout approached us after one of her performances offering her a record deal in Nashville, I should have been thrilled. Instead, I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach. She's only 17, I told the sharp-suited man with his predatory smile. She needs to finish high school. Education can wait, he said smoothly. Talent like this doesn't come along often. We need to strike while the iron is hot. Sophia was beside herself with excitement. This was her dream, the chance she'd been waiting for her entire life. How could I stand in the way of that? But I tried. God help me, I tried. Now, what about college? I asked during one of our many arguments about her future. You're smart, Sophia. You could study music, learn about the business side of things. You don't have to rush into this. You don't understand, she'd scream, her dark eyes flashing with the kind of passionate intensity that would later captivate millions. This is my shot. If I don't take it now, someone else will. I'll be stuck in this dead-end town forever, just like... She never finished that sentence, but I knew what she meant. Just like me. Just like her old man who'd never amounted to anything more than a high school music teacher in a place most people couldn't find on a map. The day she turned 18, she signed the contract. Within a month, she was gone. At first, she called regularly. Breathless reports of recording sessions, photo shoots, meetings with important people whose names I didn't recognize. She was living in a small apartment with 3 other girls, all chasing the same impossible dream. Money was tight, but she was happy. She was where she belonged. I sent her what I could care, packages, money for my teacher's salary that I couldn't really afford to spare. Elena had left behind a small life insurance policy, and I found myself dipping into it more often than I should have, unable to resist, when Sophia called asking for help with rent or groceries. Dad, you're the best, she'd say. and for a moment it would feel like nothing had changed, like she was still my little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest while I hummed lullabies. The calls started coming less frequently after her first single hit the radio. Then her album dropped, and suddenly she was everywhere. Magazine covers, talk shows, award ceremonies. I'd see her on TV and feel this strange disconnect, like I was watching a stranger who happened to look exactly like my daughter. When she won her first Grammy, I watched from my living room, tears streaming down my face as she accepted the award. She thanked her team, her fans, her label. She thanked her mother, Elena, calling her the angel who gave me wings. She didn't mention me. The calls stopped after that. At first, I made excuses she was busy traveling, caught up in the whirlwind of success. But weeks turned into months and months into years. I'd reach out occasionally, leaving voicemails that went unreturned, sending texts that remained unread. I learned about her life through tabloids and entertainment shows like everyone else. Her relationship with Marcus Webb, the actor 10 years her senior, their engagement, their breakup, her struggles with anxiety and what the media delicately called exhaustion, her comeback album, her world tour. Through it all, I remained a ghost from her past, someone she'd outgrown and left behind. Oh. The second call came 3 days later at a more reasonable hour, but with the same desperate edge. Dad, please, I know I don't deserve it, but I'm in real trouble. This time I was ready for her. I'd spent those 3 days alternating between fury and heartbreak, remembering everything I'd lost when she decided I was no longer worth her time. What kind of trouble? I asked, my voice carefully neutral. The kind that could destroy everything I've worked for. Dad, there are people who want to hurt me. They have information about things I've done, mistakes I made when I was younger and desperate. What kind of mistakes? A long pause. When she spoke again, her voice was barely audible. The kind that could send me to prison. My blood ran cold. Sophia, what are you talking about? Now, I can't discuss it over the phone, but I need somewhere safe to stay while my lawyers figure this out. Somewhere no one would think to look for me. I know it's asking a lot, but you're damn right it's asking a lot. I interrupted 15 years of suppressed anger, finally bubbling to the surface. You disappeared from my life like I never existed. You couldn't even be bothered to call when I had my heart attack 3 years ago. You had a heart attack? The shock in her voice was genuine. Dad, I didn't know. How could you know you cut me out of your life completely? I'm nothing to you, remember? Just the small-town loser who held you back? Silence stretched between us, heavy with years of hurt and resentment. I never said that, she whispered finally. You didn't have to. Your actions spoke loud enough. Dad, please. I know I hurt you. I know I was selfish and awful, and I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I'm scared, really scared, and you're the only person I trust. Trust! I laughed bitterly. You have a funny way of showing trust, Sophia. 15 years of silence, and now you want to waltz back into my life because you need something from me. No, I know how it looks. No, do you really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you only remember I exist when you need something. Money when you were starting out, and now a place to hide when your perfect life falls apart. She was crying now, soft sobs that tugged at my heart, despite everything. I was young and stupid, and I thought success meant leaving everything behind. I thought you'd be proud of me for making it on my own. I was always proud of you, I said quietly. Even when you broke my heart, I was proud. Every award, every achievement, every milestone, I celebrated them, all alone in my living room, watching the daughter who didn't want me anymore. No. You want my help? You want to come back home after all these years. Then you're going to listen to what I have to say first. I told her about the nights I'd lie awake wondering if she was safe, if she was eating enough, if she was happy. I told her about the scrapbook I'd kept filled with every article, every photo, every mention of her name that I could find. I told her about the bedroom I'd left untouched, waiting for a visit that never came. I told her about Elena's birthday and the anniversary of her death and Christmas mornings, when I'd set a place at the table out of habit before remembering that it would just be me again. I told her about the heart attack, how I'd lain on the kitchen floor gasping for breath, and the only thing I could think about was how I'd die alone and she'd probably find out from a news report weeks later. I told her about the students who'd asked me if I was related to Sofia Martinez, and how I'd learned to change the subject, rather than explain that, yes, she was my daughter, but no, we didn't speak anymore. By the time I finished, we were both crying. I'm sorry, she whispered. God, Dad, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make up for all those years. Nah, I don't know either, I admitted. But maybe we can figure it out together. She arrived 2 days later at dusk, wearing oversized sunglasses and a baseball cap pulled low over her face. I almost didn't recognize her at first. She was thinner than she appeared in photos, her famous curves replaced by sharp angles that spoke of stress and sleepless nights. Hi, Dad, she said, simply standing on the porch of the house she'd grown up in, looking younger and more vulnerable than she had at 18. Hi, baby girl, I replied using the nickname I hadn't spoken in 15 years. She fell into my arms then, and for a moment the years melted away. She was just my daughter again, scared and needing her father. I held her while she sobbed, feeling every regret and missed moment in the way she clung to me. I missed you, she whispered against my shoulder. Every single day I missed you. But I didn't know how to come back. I didn't think you'd want me to. I always wanted you to come back, I said, my own voice thick with emotion. I just stopped believing you would. Over the next few days, the story came out in pieces. The mistakes she'd mentioned involved financial irregularities from her early career money that had gone missing from charity concerts, funds that had been misappropriated by people she'd trusted. Sophia hadn't been directly involved, but her signature was on documents that made her legally responsible. I was so naive, she said as we sat in the kitchen where she'd once done homework. I trusted everyone signed everything they put in front of me. I thought if I just focused on the music, everyone else would handle the business side honestly. The people threatening her weren't law enforcement. They were criminals who'd been involved in the money laundering scheme. And they wanted her silence in exchange for not revealing information that could destroy her career and reputation. That they want me to pay them to keep quiet, she explained. But if I do, I'm trapped forever. They'll just keep asking for more. What do your lawyers say? That I need to go to the FBI. Come clean about everything and hope they'll grant me immunity in exchange for testimony against the real criminals. But Dad, if this goes public. She buried her face in her hands. Everything I've worked for will be gone. My reputation, my career, my fans' trust. I'll lose everything. I studied my daughter, really looked at her for the first time since she'd arrived. The makeup couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes, and her hands shook slightly when she reached for her coffee cup. Have you lost everything already? I asked gently. She looked up at me, confused. I mean, are you happy? Really happy with this life you've built? The question seemed to break something inside her. I haven't been happy in years, she whispered. Not really. I have money and fame and everything I thought I wanted. But I'm so lonely, Dad. I'm surrounded by people all the time. But they only see Sophia Martinez, the brand. They don't see me. Who is you? I asked. Without the fame and the music and the image, who are you? She was quiet for a long time. I don't know anymore. I used to be your daughter. Elena's daughter, the girl who loved to sing because it made people smile. But somewhere along the way, I lost her. That night, I found her in her old bedroom, sitting on the bed and staring at the walls, covered with posters of the artists she'd once idolized. Many of them had self-destructed in spectacular fashion, their talents consumed by the very industry that had made them famous. I kept it exactly the same, and I said from the doorway, Why, hope I guess that someday you'd come home. She picked up a photo from her nightstand, the three of us at her 16th birthday party, Elena in the middle, with her arms around both of us. We all looked so happy, so innocent of what was coming. Do you think Mom would be disappointed in me? She asked. I sat down beside her on the bed. Your mother loved you more than life itself. She'd be heartbroken about the choices you made, the people you hurt, including yourself. But disappointed never. She'd want you to find your way back to who you really are. I don't know if I can. I don't know if it's too late. It's never too late to do the right thing, I said, but you have to be willing to accept the consequences. She nodded slowly. Will you come with me when I talk to the FBI? I know I don't have the right to ask, but yes, I said without hesitation. Whatever happens, you don't have to face it alone. The meeting with federal agents took place in a nondescript office building in Cincinnati. Sophia wore a simple black dress and no makeup, looking more like the girl I'd raised than the superstar she'd become. Her hand shook as she signed the cooperation agreement, but her voice was steady as she detailed everything she knew about the financial crimes. The agents assured us that they'd been building a case against the real perpetrators for months, and Sophia's testimony could be the key to bringing them down. In exchange for her cooperation, they'd recommend immunity from prosecution, though her reputation would inevitably suffer when the case went public. How long before this becomes news? I asked. A few weeks, maybe a month? Agent Martinez, no relation, despite the name, replied. We'll try to keep it quiet as long as possible, but once arrests are made, Sophia nodded. I understand. Thank you for giving me a chance to do the right thing. Uh, we drove home in comfortable silence, something that would have been impossible just a week earlier. As we pulled into the driveway, Sophia suddenly spoke. I want to call off the tour. I looked at her in surprise. Her comeback tour was set to begin in 2 months and was already sold out in most cities. Are you sure that's a lot of money to walk away from? I can't get up on stage and pretend everything's fine when I know what's coming. And honestly, Dad, I don't think I want to go back to that life. At least not the way it was. What do you want to do? She was quiet for a moment. I want to remember why I started singing in the first place. Before the contracts and the image and the pressure, I want to find that girl who used to sing in the church choir, just because it made her happy. The story broke 3 weeks later, sending shockwaves through the entertainment industry. The headlines were brutal. Grammy winner Sofia Martinez, linked to money laundering scheme. Pop star's dark secret revealed. From riches to rags, the fall of America's sweetheart. But there were other headlines too, ones that told a different story. Sofia Martinez cooperates with FBI to bring down criminal network. Singer's courage helps authorities recover millions in stolen charity funds. Martinez chooses truth over career in stunning display of integrity. The public reaction was mixed. Some fans felt betrayed, unable to separate her from the crimes of others. But many more expressed support and admiration for her decision to come forward, recognizing the courage it took to sacrifice her career for the sake of justice. Sophia read every article, every comment, every review of her character and choices. Some days were harder than others, especially when former friends and colleagues distanced themselves from her, afraid of guilt by association. But she also received unexpected support. Artists she'd long admired reached out privately to express their respect for her actions. Fans organized campaigns to show their continued support. Organizations dedicated to financial transparency in the music industry praised her whistleblowing. Most importantly, she seemed to be finding peace with her decision. 6 months after her return home, Sophia announced that she was taking an indefinite hiatus from touring and recording. Instead, she enrolled in business classes at the local community college and began volunteering at a nonprofit that provided music education to underprivileged children. I spent so many years trying to be famous, she told me. One evening as we worked in the garden Elena had started decades ago. I forgot that the point was to share music, not to be seen. She'd gained weight, her face filling out with the healthy glow of someone who was finally getting enough sleep and eating regular meals. The sharp edges of stress had softened, replaced by something that looked remarkably like contentment. Do you miss it? I asked, performing the adulation. Sometimes, she admitted. But I don't miss the fear. I don't miss wondering who I could trust or looking over my shoulder constantly. And I don't miss feeling empty inside despite having everything I thought I wanted. She'd started writing again, but differently now. The songs that emerged weren't crafted for radio play or commercial appeal. They were honest, raw, deeply personal pieces that captured her journey from naive young woman to fallen star, to someone finding her way back to herself. I want to record them, she said one day, showing me a notebook filled with lyrics. Not for a label or for commercial release, just for me, for us, for Mom. We set up a simple recording studio in what used to be the guest bedroom using equipment that was basic by industry standards, but more than adequate for what she wanted to accomplish. The album that emerged was unlike anything she'd released before, intimate, vulnerable, stripped of the polished production that had characterized her commercial work. She called it Coming Home. A year after her return, Sophia received a letter that changed everything. It was from a young girl named Maria, whose music education program had been funded by the charity money that was recovered through Sophia's testimony. Dear Ms. Martinez, the letter read, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I wanted to thank you. Because of what you did coming forward about the stolen money, my school got new instruments and a real music teacher. I'm learning to play violin, and my teacher says I have talent. Maybe someday I'll be brave like you and do the right thing even when it's scary. Thank you for giving kids like me a chance to make music. Sophia cried when she read it, but they were tears of joy rather than regret. No, this is worth more than any Grammy note, she said, holding the letter like it was made of gold. She framed it and hung it in her bedroom, next to the photo of our family from before everything changed. The criminal trial began 2 years after Sophia's initial cooperation. She testified for 3 days, her testimony instrumental in securing convictions for 7 individuals involved in the money laundering scheme. The recovered funds, nearly $10 million, were returned to the charities they'd been stolen from. After her final day of testimony, Sophia was approached by a reporter who'd been covering the trial. Do you have any regrets about coming forward? The reporter asked. You've essentially sacrificed your career for this. Sophia considered the question seriously. I regret that it took me so long to do the right thing. I regret the years I spent running from my problems instead of facing them. But coming forward, no. I don't regret that at all. What's next for Sophia Martinez? I'm not sure yet, she said, smiling. But for the first time in years, I'm excited to find out. Today, 5 years after that first desperate phone call, Sophia runs a music therapy program for at-risk youth. She performs occasionally at local venues, small, intimate settings where she can connect with her audience on a personal level. The performances aren't about fame or fortune. They're about sharing the gift that her mother always said she possessed, the ability to touch people's hearts through music. She's dating a music teacher from the next town over a quiet man who knew nothing about her famous past. When they met and didn't care when he found out. They're talking about marriage, about children, about building a life based on love rather than ambition. Some people think she threw her life away, that she sacrificed everything for nothing. They see her teaching music to troubled teenagers and performing at coffee shops instead of arenas, and they call it a waste of talent. But I know better. I know that my daughter found something more valuable than fame or fortune. She found herself. She found her way back to the girl who used to sing lullabies to her sick mother, who volunteered at nursing homes because she liked making elderly residents smile, who called her father every night just to say goodnight. She found her way home. The phone still rings, sometimes reporters wanting interviews, producers offering comeback deals, fans asking when she'll return to recording. Sophia listens politely and declines gracefully, no longer tempted by the siren song of celebrity. I already have everything I want, she tells them, and she means it. And me, I have my daughter back. Not the superstar who conquered the world, but the girl I raised, the woman Elena would be proud of, the person she was always meant to be. In the end, that's worth more than all the fame in the world. Sometimes the greatest success comes not from reaching the top, but from having the courage to climb back down and find solid ground. Sometimes coming home isn't about returning to a place, but about returning to yourself. And sometimes the most beautiful music isn't played in concert halls or recorded in studios. Sometimes it's just a daughter and her father sitting on a front porch at sunset, humming an old song they both remember, grateful for second chances and the long journey that brought them back to each other. The fame may be gone, but the love remains. And in the end, that's the only applause that really matters.